So my name is Graham Dixie. I'm the Agribusiness Advisor, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about agriculture and creating jobs, and particularly in the MENA region. Jobs are increasingly important. When Africans were asked what they mostly wanted from their government, it was jobs. And a similar kind of emphasis is coming from the World Bank with its twin aims. But you will find that economists will say to you, well, what's agriculture got to do with job creation? Because if we look over history, we'll see that people actually drop out of agriculture. It doesn't create new jobs. And that in actual fact, agriculture's GDP is relatively small. And if you've got too many people working in agriculture, they'll never escape poverty anyway. So the question there comes up is, well, what's the relevance of agriculture for job creation? In Egypt, on July the 14th, President Sisi banged the table at his cabinet meeting and said that he wanted to bring into production another 4 million acres of production. And this would be in the desert, and it would be dependent as its water source from groundwater. And that actually his real project development objective was not about land reclamation. It's about jobs for youth, and it's about creating livelihoods and communities, and that this needed to be based on agriculture. And one of the things that came out from Egypt is that actually Egypt has a thriving agribusiness sector. It has increased its agricultural exports from $500 million to $5 billion over the last 10 years. It's moved from commodities into high-value crops like strawberries, citrus, fruit juices, frozen vegetables. But we've also got limited amounts of water. And one of the key things that we decided to measure was, well, what kind of enterprises will create the most jobs? And the figures are massively different. The takeaways really are that in the future, what we will find is that there will be probably less jobs in farming, but they're going to be much more skilled farmers. That we can, to some extent, ameliorate the loss of jobs by encouraging the emergence of some of these more labor-intensive crops, which is where the consumer demand is going, and that within the broader supply chain there will be massive increases in the number of jobs that have been created, and that these will be jobs which are higher value. Often their value added per employee is 2 to 6 times what farming is, so they're much more likely to have good incomes to get themselves out of poverty. They're more likely to be women, and they're much more likely to be jobs actually in the smaller scale farms.
Nós produzimos uva de qualidade e referência aqui na nossa região, pelo sistema de cultivo. Nós produzimos também um pouco de grãos, que é pouco, e também o suco de uva, que é o nosso carro-chefe. Tá. O SC Rural ajudou na compra da cobertura. Essa cobertura ela ajuda para controle das paredes, né, para como que ela fica a parede ela fica na lona, ela não cria fungo, fica uma uva mais doce e com uma uva diferenciada aqui, uma uva diferenciada das demais. E também protege do granizo.
As oportunidades são muitas. Como tudo é novo na região, principalmente para nós, a produção de uva e suco, temos todo um mercado para explorar e oferecer produtos de alta qualidade.
So the youth are an important source of competitiveness for rural areas, as they are often more able to incorporate new technologies into agribusiness plans, are more integrated with markets and what markets can offer. And because they're at the younger stages of their careers, their ambitions allows them to put that into practice and to be able to present agribusiness plans that incorporates a lot of these new aspects, both in terms of technologies and markets.
I'm Adarsh Kumar. I'm a Senior Rural Development Specialist with the Agricultural Global Practice based in New Delhi. Recently, we did a review of 9 agricultural portfolio projects across 3 countries, India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, that have trained more than 1 million youth. We found that these projects have two significant advantages. Firstly, our presence in rural areas enables us to reach and target the poorest households, which is fundamental to the World Bank's objective of eradicating poverty. Secondly, through these multiple investments, we've developed a sophisticated model to connect poor youth to skills training and jobs. And this spans from targeting, identification, to mobilization, to financing, to job placements, to post-placement hand-holding and mentoring.
कुछ आवाजें जो कुछ कहना चाहती हैं।
मेरे घर की स्थिति बहुत ही दयनीय थी। पिता मेरे छोटे किसान हैं, जिससे वह पढ़ाई का खर्च देने में असमर्थ हैं।
मैं इंटर फाइनल कर चुकी हूँ, आगे की पढ़ाई नहीं की क्योंकि मेरे पास पैसे नहीं थे जो मैं आगे पढ़ सकती।
मेरे पापा मजदूरी करते, उनके पास इतना पैसा नहीं था तो मेरे को अच्छे कॉलेज या फिर अच्छी पढ़ाई दे सकते थे। मैं बेरोजगार था।
ये दास्तान ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों के लाखों युवाओं की है। किसी की पढ़ाई बीच में छूट गई, किसी के परिवार के पास उसकी पढ़ाई के लिए पैसे नहीं, कोई बेरोजगारी के आलम में मेहनत मजदूरी करने को विवश था। राज्य सरकार द्वारा योजना के लिए ग्राम पंचायत का चयन करने के साथ ही वहां एजेंसी का काम शुरू हो जाता है। पंचायत क्षेत्र में योजना के बारे में विभिन्न माध्यमों से प्रचार प्रसार किया जाता है। ग्रामीणों के साथ बैठकें की जाती हैं, उन्हें योजना के विषय में विस्तार से समझाया जाता है। केंद्र में युवा की रुचि, योग्यता और क्षमता के आधार पर उसका चयन किसी कोर्स के लिए किया जाता है। ये ट्रेनिंग कोर्स 3 महीने, 6 महीने, 9 महीने या 12 महीने तक के होते हैं। कोर्स के दौरान ट्रेनी युवा यदि हॉस्टल में रह रहा है तो उसके रहने, भोजन आदि की निःशुल्क व्यवस्था होती है।
आज हम जॉब कर रहे हैं टेलीकॉलर सेल्स का। मेरा सैलरी है 6,000। मेरा मायने रखता है कि आज हम अपने पैर पे खड़े हैं।
मेरे को ज्वाइन लेटर मिल चुका है। कुछ ही दिनों बाद मैं जॉब करूंगा और एक अच्छी सैलरी के साथ अपना जीवन बिताऊंगा।
Moving forward, I see 3 primary challenges over the next 6 months to a year. Firstly, we haven't thought of jobs as central to the agricultural portfolio, as central to the core objectives of the projects that we put in the field. And I think bringing it to the center and systematically measuring and monitoring is going to be crucial. We need to look at incremental improvements to the existing model to address existing gaps such as gender gaps in skills training and jobs placements and wage outcomes, for example. Finally, and I think this is the most important challenge, we need to focus on the intersection between agriculture and jobs, looking at improved wage employment and entrepreneurship opportunities in food processing, food safety systems, transportation and logistics, and climate smart agriculture.
I'm Francisco Campos from the Trade and Competitiveness Global Practice. I'm TTL of the Guinea-Bissau Private Sector Rehabilitation and Agribusiness Development Project. This is a joint project with the Agriculture Global Practice. It's a project that started in 2014 and it works primarily in the cashew value chain. It tries to create jobs for youth in rural areas as well as improving the livelihoods and jobs of those that are working as farmers. It works in production with extension services, but also with improving the bargaining power of farmers through warehouse facilities and the price information system. And it tries to create new jobs through moving up in the value chain by creating community-level processing plants of cashew that can have the capacity to jointly export or link to international investor. This will create a significant number of jobs, especially for women and especially for youth in these rural areas. I encourage you to visit Guinea-Bissau. It's a beautiful country, great cashew, and one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isabella Leão. I'm a second year YP in the Agriculture GP. I'm working on Afghanistan, where it is estimated that 400,000 new workers will join the labor force in the next years. And so the agriculture plays and will continue to play a central role in supporting the economic development of the country, especially given that 80% of the population lives and works in the rural areas, especially on farms. Also, 90% of the manufacturing is on agriculture based. And when you look at the total labor force of the country, 40% is in agriculture. The World Bank has been playing a central role in supporting the agriculture sector in Afghanistan. Little attention has been paid on actual job creation and agriculture jobs through the projects. Bill and I decided to do some stock taking of these issues and looking at World Bank finance projects for the past 12 years and trying to answer two basic questions. How many jobs have been created in agriculture and rural development financed operations, and how much does it cost to create a job in agriculture? Among the issues that have been found through the preliminary results of our analysis is that first, agriculture has a substantial portfolio in Afghanistan. For the last 12 years, we have invested over $700 million of total budget, and we have benefited over 8 million households by completed projects. Another issue we have found in the analysis is that agricultural projects have created over 700,000 temporary jobs through project implementation and over 50,000 full-time jobs. Now, what is a bit less clear is the impact of projects on direct and indirect employment creation. And this uncertainty is due to the fact that jobs have been incidental to the objectives of our agriculture projects. And so there has been little monitoring and systematic measurement of job creation. Now, despite all of that, it's clear that agriculture has been creating jobs, especially full-time jobs. We have just not been measuring it, but agriculture has the potential to create jobs by increased irrigated areas, productivity, and extension in the agriculture value chain.
Hi, I'm Samantha Watson, job specialist with the Jobs CCSA. I'm co-TTLing with SPL Jobs Diagnostic in Afghanistan that's currently up for review. And I just wanted to talk a bit about our multi-sectoral work with the GPs on this Jobs Diagnostic. We're bringing in lots of GPs, of which agriculture is one of our biggest partners. And the work that Isabella and Bill are doing, estimating the investment cost per job created in agricultural projects, is adding a new dimension to the standard Jobs Diagnostic, as well as giving us some idea of how different projects will create jobs and which ones are most cost effective. We're finding synergies by bringing in all the different GPs. We have the education GP looking at some of the TVET system and identifying a demand for more skilled labor in agriculture, which is a good input for the agricultural GP to know about so that there can be collaboration across the GPs. And we've just started analysis, but we see lots of ways to bring the GPs together to solve the different solutions. And we know that in Afghanistan, agriculture is going to be a large section of the economy for quite a while.
Hi, my name is Aprajita Goyal. I'm an economist in the Agriculture Global Practice, working primarily on Africa. The flagship on youth employment in sub-Saharan Africa was a collaborative effort between different GPs, primarily agriculture, human development, social protection, labor, finance and private sector, working on Africa. And there were three main messages that came out of that study that are especially relevant for our work in agriculture. First, Africa has a youth bulge. More than half the population is under 25 years of age, and majority of the young people end up working on family farms and household enterprises. This is mainly because even though African economies are growing on average at 4 to 5% per year, the base of the modern wage sector is not large enough to absorb the millions of young people that are entering the labor force every year. Second, the employment challenge, therefore, is not only to create jobs in the modern wage sector, but also to increase the productivity of these household enterprises and small-scale farms where majority of the youth are. and therefore agriculture plays a hugely important role in productively employing youth. Third, the pathways to productive employment or rural jobs creation are obviously investments in human capital, particularly skills development, but also access to land, access to finance, access to technology, access to markets that a number of our projects, our operational projects, are currently focused on.
My name is Namita Datta, and I work in the Jobs CCSA, and I'm the lead on Let's Work, which is a global partnership that was created more than a year ago. The focus of Let's Work is to bring in different partners and really emphasize the role of the private sector in job creation. And as of today, the partnership has a large number of IFIs, the International Finance Institutions. It has all the regional development banks, the ADB, African Development Bank, EIB, Islamic Development Bank, IEDB. It also has the ILO as its partner, and the WBCSD, which is a network of 200 CEOs from the private sector. The program has 3 main pillars in terms of work streams, and I'll talk just very quickly about one of the work pillars, which is focusing on country pilots, where the idea is that this large list of stakeholders and partners would come together and implement a pilot in a particular country, and we would do it in 6 to 8 countries. We've just launched work in 4 out of those 8 countries, which is Mozambique, Tanzania, Zambia, and Bangladesh.